Thank you. Thank you so much. And welcome everybody to our second episode in our four-part series here on best practices for improving your restaurant's profitability. I appreciate the Dallas College SBDC for making this possible. And I hope that all of you are available to utilize their resources, whether you're listening because you're planning to get into the restaurant industry, whether you are listening because you're a current operator and what you're looking for are ways of improving your performance, you're at the right place. For those of you that all were participating in episode 1, you know that we started our formula for profitability with people. People lead directly to how to improve your profitability. And we spent time last week talking about the points involved in proper selection, training for retention, and how to engage staff in order to properly improve your restaurant's efficiencies, which of course lead to better profitability. So today we're moving to the next P in that process, and that's product. The managing the menu, the developing the menu, the purchasing, storage, inventory, costing of product. This is obviously a direct reflection on the economics of your restaurant. And so the better that we can do this part, the better we can improve our profitability. So that's all about episode 2. As with our other formats, we're going to want to make sure that everyone knows this is being recorded. You will be able to use this as a resource in the future, just in case there's a point or two that get missed. I know that the Small Business Development Center there in Dallas College is planning to have this available to be posted. Also, I'm going to leave a few minutes at the end so that we can do questions or maybe revisit a point that you'd like to spend more time on. So let's jump in, because no matter whether you're a small limited restaurant, whether you're a mobile restaurant, food trailer or truck, whether you're a full service large restaurant with a bar, couple of dining rooms, outside patio and private dining rooms as well, you're following the same principle of managing product for profit. It's the same principle. And it all starts with what the guest sees, how they make their decision, and what they order. So that's your menu. Your menu, of course, is telling your story. The first question you might want to ask yourself is, if it's telling my story, what is it saying about me? Is the menu recent? Is it current? Is it updated? Is it styled in a way that sends the right atmosphere, exposure that you want your brand to represent? There are so many types of menus now. The formal open and close hold in your handbook. There's the QR code. There's the wall hung menu. There's the electronic digital menu. So all of these different type of menus are wonderful, and they all fit for different purposes. So I'm going to be speaking generally right now about all of them, because a lot of these principles are the same. If you are concerned with your layout, if you're concerned with how to put items on the menu, we're going to talk about that first, because the way you lay out, the way you select, and the way you design drives the guest eyes to what it is, they're going to select. So you want to drive their eyes to, obviously, what are the products that best tell your story? What are the items that have the best margin of profit? What are the items that maybe lead to other items, so that you're building that guest per person check average? So starting a layout means you've got to know the core items of your menu. That's another question to ask yourself. Are you aware of your core menu items and what sells best? Because I've worked with many people, and when I ask them about their menu, they say, I have no trouble there. Everything tastes good. I get really good comments. Okay, well, what are the popular sellers? Oh, hard to tell. Hard to tell because everything sells. So then what we do is we sit down and we look at your product sales mix, or some people call it an item sales mix, or your P mix. It's coming off of your POS, and it's telling you what your guests are saying every day, because it's telling you what you sell, how much of what you sell. You can categorize these reports if you like, not just by the day, but by the shift, by the category. So you can look at appetizers versus entrees, sides, desserts, beverages. It can list them, and it normally lists them by popularity. So if you haven't done this recently, please make a note to do this very quickly. This is something that most restaurants are looking at a daily basis because they want to manage their product in the best way to increase profitability. And we have no way of knowing how to start that without knowing what the guests like the most and what the guests like the least. Now, there's a lot of stories that we could tell here. I'm not going to share all of them, but I will share one that is just a little personally embarrassing, but you may as well know that everybody makes some mistakes when it comes to menuing. I've made my share too. And there was a restaurant that I owned, and on one of the entrees, I was convinced that this particular seafood item was going to represent the concept very well, and the particular sauce was good. It was a good point of difference. And so this fish fillet was going to be very popular. After the first couple months, I sat down with my chef partner, and guess what? That trout with the brown sauce was selling 1, maybe 2 a day. That was it. So he was telling me all the right things. We need to adjust our menu and follow what the guests are telling us. We need to position ourselves to sell more of what the people are buying. We should move in a direction that is more grilling, more combinations of grilled items, because it was the items off the grill that were selling. This sauteed fish item we should probably drop because it's not selling. I didn't listen. We did review the menu. We did update the design. It was seasonal. It was wonderful. It went back out into the dining room. And I kept that seafood item because I thought it's just good. It's unique. The guests are going to get it. So you probably guessed the way this story ends. 2 months later, we're doing another serious review. We look at our 60 days PMIX report. We're categorizing the leaders. We're categorizing the okay items. We're making a list of the dogs that barely sell 1 a day. And one of them was that trout. There it is again, selling maybe 1 or 2 a day. And one of those was the one that I ordered. So what you have to remember here is if you really want to manage your product for profitability, not for maybe personal taste or something else. You have to realize that as the owner, you might have the final responsibility, the final say-so. You might be the person that is signing the checks, but you're not really the boss. The boss in your business is your guest. And the closer you are to the customer, the smarter you always are. So if you look at these reports daily and your guest is telling you what price range seems to be most popular, what style of cooking is most popular, what items they're just not getting, that needs to be the foundation for your menu review and your updating and your price structure. The more you do of what works, the busier you are. The busier you are, the better chance you have of being profitable. The more you hold on to an item for whatever reason that the customers aren't getting, the more you're going in the wrong direction. So study your daily reports, then look at your layout and design. No matter how you've laid out your menu, if you're let's say a counter service, very casual, so you've got a menu board that's hanging on the wall. I'm going to tell you now from studies that have been done on menu readability, yes, that's actually a thing, that people seem to go to the center of that board. So that's why you'll notice a lot of times restaurants will have maybe the middle board be a little bigger. They might have their key entrees, the items they want to sell. They'll put maybe the breakfast, the desserts, the drinks off to either side, but the main items are in the middle. Another thing you might notice is that the things that you want people to spend more time reading should come at the beginning or the end of the category, because people seem to read what's listed first or what's listed last more than they do the ones in the middle. So organizing and layout really will help drive sales, driving sales of what it is you want to sell because it's got the better margins is what, of course, can increase your profitability. So you see how that all works out. Let's talk about a pricing strategy. Now that we know maybe how to lay out the menu, where to put things, top goes, bottom goes, I get it. Okay, let's also make sure that if we're doing a multiple page menu, if it's say a book menu that you open, people's eyes typically go to the right, then they work their way back. And so that's the reason why next time you go out, you might take a look when you open up. That's the reason why maybe the entrees are typically on the right side of a 2-page menu, and they're on the higher area, closer to the top. And you have to go to the left to read the other things, like the starters or the apps or the salads or the sandwiches. And maybe the bottom left is where the sides are. These are important. They're the accompaniments, but they're not really where people want their eyes to go first. They want their eyes to go first to the grilled items, the entree, the combinations, the burger with fries, the whatever it is that seems to, describe your concept best. So that's positioning and that's layout. The thing about pricing that people need to remember is that most guests are rounding. So when you price your menu, or if you have a menu and you see a lot of 12.29s, 12.40, 11.65, that might have worked because you were trying to get to a particular cost percentage. But in their minds, rounding is occurring. So most menus now are either just doing $12.50 or $12.99 or $12.50 or $13. See what I mean? Or at least maybe something that is rounded to the quarters. That's the way the mind is working anyway. So you don't necessarily need to be more specific. You're leaving money on the table. Also, sometimes what people don't necessarily realize is when you're laying out your design and you've got your menu item, let's say it's the chicken breast poblano. It's a grilled chicken. You have a short description. Grilled chicken, poblano slices, melted cheese served on cilantro lime rice. Okay, that's the way it should read. What the item is, and then simple descriptions. What's it served with? It's topped with this and it's on this. Okay, the lengthy, long descriptions don't really work anymore. It moves people onto something else. So they might be moving on to something that's less profitable. So by a lengthy description, what I mean is some of the things that years ago we used to have fun with. We had fun with menus because we told a story with every single item. That same chicken breast with melted cheese would have been, grandma's special recipe of this and that, and homemade sauce made of this and that, and cilantro lime rice that was infused with mom's sauce of special marinated mushrooms. Anyway, we would have about 2 lines thinking that sells the item more. And now you'll notice most of the current high volume restaurants that are on trend have very simple menus, and it's just what the item is. And the name of the item is what it is. It isn't called chicken in a corner and then it's told it's chicken breast with cheese and this. No, it's just chicken poblano because it's chicken with poblano and cheese on it. So no fancy names, no lengthy descriptions, and place the price as part of the description. So right at the end of the description is where the price should be. You'll notice that now when you're going to more of the menus that are on trend, there isn't a separate row way off to the right that lists prices. The prices are right at the end. So this is what it is. It's topped with this, served with this, for this price. It makes it more of the story. Now, this might sound like a small point, but it sort of makes the price seem that it putting more value on the product, because I just told you the name of the product and what it comes, and you get this for $13.99. Rather than if I just put all the prices in a row, then it's separate and people are looking at the price separately. It doesn't necessarily add a sense of value to that item. Instead, we start price shopping and we just look at the prices first, and that might get people off track. The other thing about doing prices in a row separately from the description is you're then tempted to lay your section out by price. Have you done that? Have you thought, oh, maybe I should put the more expensive items on the bottom? So I started with my $15 entrees and I worked my way into the 18, the 19, the 24, and ended with the 32. Well, if you're really on trend and if you're really laying out your menu, as I said, where the top and the bottom get the most attention, then your menu prices might be all mixed up. It might be 15, 13, 12, 18, 24, 11, because the pricing doesn't need to be in a row anyway. And the pricing doesn't need to be in order. So the menu tells a story. If it looks and reads and is current and is colored that matches your brand, then you're off on the right direction. The menu sets you up for profitability. So if you're looking at your product mix report, your item sales by the day, if at least every month or two you use that report for key decisions, how to revise, what to add, should I create specials that with some of my core product, because I see what core product is moving. I'm moving a lot more, say, chicken than I thought. And that's because I've got it as a really good sandwich, and I've got it on a salad, and I've got it on 2 plates. So should I maybe take some of that pulled chicken and create some interesting, I don't know, chicken salad panini for a Tuesday lunch special? See, these kinds of decisions make great sense if you are using what the customer sells as your basic information and using that as a foundation to go forward. So do your updates recent, be seasonal, review your item costs regularly. When you make your decisions, you play to your strength. By playing to your strength, it's because you're doing more of what you know customers see your concept as. There was a concept that I remember doing years ago, and what they were hoping it would be was the old-fashioned steak chop house. So that means it's going to have a really good variety of grilled high-quality steaks. It's going to have veal chops and lamb chops, and it's going to have maybe some seasonal game. And of course, there'll be a seafood section too. So you can have steak and seafood combinations, and the seafood and maybe a rotisserie chicken is basically your veto vote. Okay, well, this was a very smart group. So what happened after the first couple months, and we're studying the PMEX reports, we're noticing that, you know what, the seafood section is twice what we really thought it would be. This is great. I mean, the steaks are good, but some of the chops aren't really selling. So just because we thought we were doing a steak chop house, what we're really doing, if you look at the customers, is we're doing a really good seafood restaurant that happens to have a few steaks. So smart as they were, they started moving in that direction. This concept has been around now, gosh, I don't know, at least 20 years. They've expanded. They've got 12, 13 locations. They're in 3 or 4 states. And of course, they're really known now as a seafood restaurant that, you know, has some steaks. But in their minds, when they first opened, that wasn't what they thought they were going to have. So see what I mean? We're talking today about building profitability. We're not talking today about an owner's personal preference or a holding on to what you thought the concept was supposed to be when your customer is talking to you daily and they're telling you what your concept has become. Okay, so let's move on. The next thing we want to talk about is how you make your decisions, okay, about your menu items. And the key thing that I want to talk about there is we're trying to make sure that you're going to have a menu that is increasing profitability, not working the other way around. So the first thing that you might need to make sure that you realize is sometimes less is more. Less, fewer items. When you go to a lot of these restaurants that are on trend, they're very busy. They've had really good write-ups. They're popular. You might notice that they don't have a menu that is 3 or 4 pages long. They may not have 70 or 80 items. They may have a total of 40. So you're thinking, how in the world can they be that busy? My restaurant serves a lot more. I've got many more choices of sandwiches, many more salads, many more entrees. So I think I should be busier. So one of the key lessons in menu profitability is that more doesn't always mean more. More items on the menu doesn't mean more revenue. It doesn't mean more customers are going to like me and come more often. More only means more product in inventory, right? More to watch, more opportunity for spoilage, more things to prep, which means more things that could be inconsistent on the prep list and more things that could be presented inconsistently on the guest's plate. Those are the only guarantees that more product is. Everything else is a gamble. So before you start adding more, I want you to start taking a look at how you can do more with what you have. Cross-utilization of product is very interesting. Taking a look at what you have that, say, already sells, and then how can we use more of that product in another item? If I really am going back to, say, chicken, and I think, wow, I move a lot of chicken here. My most popular sandwiches are the ones with chicken in it. One of my most popular entrees are in the chicken. So then I'm going to be thinking about how do we want to do interesting specials with pulled chicken Or if you're boning and cutting chicken, the end pieces of the chicken. Should we do chicken pot pie specialty? Should we do interesting chicken finger appetizers? Should we do, some type of a baked broiled chicken stew? Should we be doing soups in the winter based on our chicken? So how can I cross-utilize products so that my menu looks like there's a lot of variety, but yet I'm not bringing in a lot more product. I'm not bringing in more items. Some of the smarter restaurants do that. They understand that cross-utilizing products rather than just adding new products gets me to appearing like I have a variety without actually having to order different product, inventory more, worry about spoilage and waste if it doesn't sell. Does that make sense, I hope? There's many, many examples of this. I remember working with a client that wanted to add more items to their appetizers because their appetizer section was garnering about 8% of their total food sales. And he said, I think I could sell a lot more appetizers. And that means adding to the check. So I'm getting more sales per person. Nothing wrong with that. Why can't we sell more appetizers? He had 8 very well done appetizers that seemed to represent the main product of his menu. So his answer was, what I really want to do is bring in some of this because it's popular, or I really like this tartare item that I ordered at this restaurant. I really want to do a spinach artichoke dip. That's an oldie but a goodie, but people seem to like it. And so he started thinking about adding 3 or 4 items, and now we're looking at 12 or 13 appetizer items. And we're looking at bringing in some product that isn't necessarily on the menu, doesn't really describe his concept. But just because nachos make an interesting appetizer doesn't necessarily mean it describes your concept and it's going to work everywhere, right? So what happened was, he did that, and we reprinted menus, and we had our regular appetizers, and we had all these interesting new things with the symbol, new this, try that. And after a couple months, we noticed that we're still getting 8% of our total sales from the appetizer section. So meaning 12 or 13 choices didn't mean more guests coming in the door. It didn't mean, more revenue. It just meant the people that were sharing appetizers now had more choices. So the same amount of people that were ordering apps were ordering apps. But now we had to inventory more product, more choices, same sales. That's what you want to get away from. If you're looking at a menu that's going to be more profitable, you want to get away from having to work harder, bring in more items in order to do the same amount of guests or the same amount of sales. So that's the reason why you're seeing more restaurants that are really on trend, being very specific with their menu items. They're not trying to be a little bit of everything to everybody. They're not all over the board. Now, I realize that every listener has probably been to Cheesecake Factory. And that is sort of the anti-menu culture of what I'm representing today. There is always that cross trend that can make money. So that is their thing. Their thing is the world's largest, most complex, most complicated menu known to mankind. They don't have just 3 or 4 sandwiches. They make sure they've got 24. They've got an unbelievably sized kitchen. They run a tremendously high labor cost, but the good news for them is they're stupidly, unbelievably busy, so it works. So yes, trying to be that everything to everybody once in a while works. That's counter trend. But for most of you, the better way to be profitable is to be who you are and be on trend. If you're a good smokehouse, and you're doing barbecue and you are concerned with maybe trying to build sales, I say do more with that. Don't try to do a little bit of everything. And by the way, take a look at what's going on with barbecue. And the amount of people that are elevating what we used to call just basic barbecue, get a chopped beef sandwich, get a sliced beef sandwich, and make sure the coleslaw and the beans are good. And you had barbecue done. No, not so much. The amount of really good qualified smoke pit rooms out there is incredible. The amount of chefs that have gotten involved in doing smokehouses has elevated barbecue. And so now it's still good brisket and it's still, smoked ribs and sausage, but the amount of combinations that they're making are broadening the menu, but with the same product line. getting their barbecue into, say, Tex-Mex style dishes. The amount of brisket or pulled pork in tacos is incredible now, in flautas and in enchiladas and combo plates. Even brunch now is an opportunity for them to utilize their pulled pork on Benedicts or their sliced brisket on chiliquillas. So there are opportunities to build your menu, but the smart thing is cross-utilize your product. It does two things for you. It helps reinforce your concept. You know, this isn't the marketing episode yet. That comes up in episode 4. But a lot of menu is telling your story. So a lot of menu is marketing. So you don't want to send out too many different messages. So if you really are a really good basic smokehouse and you've got really good barbecue, you want to build sales, you want to broaden the menu, do it from a base that still tells your story. So it's barbecue in something, or it's barbecue topped something, or it's really good brisket in the queso that goes with the chips with the beer when you're watching the ball game. Or, you know, you're not bringing in different product line just because you want to touch things. If everything is smoked, you're still smoking the chicken, you're still smoking wings. If you're getting into weekend brunch, it's all about the barbecue that's in the brunch. So that might make sense for that concept. Casual restaurants can do the same. They can broaden their concept by utilizing what works and doing more product with that rather than bringing in more, okay? Rotate your items. The more you rotate items on and off the menu, the more special they become. So if you haven't thought that you're seasonalizing your menu yet, I'm going to ask you to think about that, because it's going to become very profitable if you do that. Right now is the middle of October. So why not be thinking about your winter menu? There should be the menu that's got the desserts that are tweaked more towards the taste of the winter. So you're all probably doing something that's going to be pecan related or cinnamon related or pumpkin related or something like that. The lighter citrusy items can come in March when you want to roll out your spring summer menu. You can do the same things with sides and apps. The utilizing key items that are on your menu and making soups and stews out of them and making it more of your winter rotation. And then, of course, those change when you get into your spring rotation. So a fall winter menu, a spring summer menu is really the best way for you guys to update items, check your costing, price it correctly, so you're putting your best foot forward towards profitability. Rotating also helps people see them as specials, and specials create an interest and creates more people ordering, more people coming back. It's like, hey, I got to go back because they're doing the whatever special beef ribs are back. I'm using the barbecue example again. We don't always have them on the menu, but special beef ribs are back. We're doing smoked turkey legs through November because it's salute the turkey time. Thanksgiving's right around the corner. It makes it special. So if you have something on the menu all the time, it isn't as special. That's the reason why you see really large chains. I think the biggest example of this is that silly pressed pork thing we call the rib sandwich at McDonald's, the McRib. It's not on the menu all the time, is it? But a couple of times a year, it's like, oh my God, McRib is back. Everybody better drop what they're doing. I saw it on TV. We're all going to McDonald's again. They know that. It's if things are on the menu at all times, they're not maybe as special as if they're here seasonally off, and then something else is on seasonally and then off. So independents can follow that lead. It just seems to work. I hope this makes sense. And I hope that these couple of principles we went over so far are going to help you with the way you're laying out and thinking about your menu, because it tells a story, but it also drives the dollars. And today is all about increasing your profitability. So it's foolish, unless we really manage the menu, to think that we have a chance at increasing our profitability. So how do you set your prices? Speaking of profitability, that's the next thing we should spend some time on. Proper pricing for increased profitability. There are 3 things that we should look at as independent restaurant operators, and each of them are equally as important. So it's almost like drawing a triangle, okay? The first one you've probably already guessed. I have to price my menu based on the cost. Costs are going crazy. I sit with my purveyor. I take a look at what my beef and my pork is costing me per pound. Then I have to break it down to how many ounces are on the finished product. I have to take a look at the produce, the bakery. So are we costing out our recipes? I hope so. When was the last time you've actually done an item costing of your menu? This is the type of thing that really needs to be done at least a few times a year. And you want to get your staff involved. This is very good for the key staff to understand not just the proper portioning, the consistency of presentation, how the plates are going to look, but then so they know why it's important to keep that so consistent because of the cost breakdown. That's why we need the 4 ounces of green beans and the 6 to 8 ounces of whatever the prime product is, and the 2 ounces of ladled sauce, and the 3-ounce scoop, not the 5-ounce scoop of the beans or the rice or whatever makes your entree. So a few times a year, all of your menu items should really be, excuse me, I'm so sorry, should really be reviewed. And that review sets your item costing. Your vendors will help you with this. Whether you're using small independent produce, dairy companies, custom bakeries, whether you're using the large guys, the Benny Keith, Cisco's, or US Foods of the world, a lot of them will show you off your invoice what you're ordering, how many pounds, what the current prices are, break it down by the ounce, and work with you on your plate costing. Some of them even have departments that do this. They're called the business development advisor or somebody. They know that the closer they work with their restaurant users, the more they help you become successful, the more you're going to order. Of course, that's what they're after. So they're working together. They'll help you provide information and provide expertise. Some of you may be the step beyond that. You might be doing this electronically using a Extra Chef or Margin Edge or a product that is managing your inventory. And then as long as you're keeping your information current, as long as you're putting in your pricing current, it's breaking out how much these items cost. So you know if you have a 6-ounce patty and the top bun and the bottom bun, and if it's a 1-ounce slice of tomato and 1 piece of cheese, then each time you order that, it's subtracting it from inventory and it's assigning a cost of that item. So item cost is the first, but you don't just price based on item cost. Just because you know that you would like to run, say, a 33% food cost, you don't cost your whole menu and set a price that you know gives you a 33%. That's unrealistic. Some items aren't going to work at that. By the way, some items might have a lower cost than that. That's great. Some items, obviously, some of your prime items might have a higher cost than that. And so that's why your second part of this triangle is very important. And that's sales mixing. You want to set a price that helps drive sales to what it is you're wanting to sell. So sometimes it isn't just cost. If it was just cost, then the next time you're at a very expensive special occasion restaurant, for example, and you see that the prime beef is all priced at $38, $45, $60 a steak, and you look over at the, say, the half chicken, and you think, well, this is a great veto vote. I might do the chicken and rice instead. And you notice that it's like $30. Well, if it was priced just on cost, that chicken could probably be a lot less. But it's priced on cost, but also on sales mix, because they don't want too many entrees to be too much lower than the items that are the prime items you're selling, because it'll make those prime items seem more expensive. Right? I mean, what if you're thinking about ordering a $45 steak and you look over and the chicken is $32? It's pretty well in line. If you look at a $42 steak and you look at the chicken and it's $19 or $20, that steak in your mind might look more expensive. So driving that chicken to be a little bit more responsibly priced for the image of the restaurant and the other items on the menu makes more sense than just pricing based on cost. If we price just based on cost, you would never be spending $3 or $4 for a cup of coffee at the end of your meal in a really nice restaurant. Because if it was just based on cost, it would be $1. How about the iced tea? How about the Diet Coke? So you see what I mean? Item costing is what you do first. But then you want to match it with sales mix. So your accompaniments and your veto vote menu items might be a little bit more pricey than they would be if it was just on the cost. And you need that extra buffer because those aren't necessarily the most popular items. If you went to a steakhouse last night, they obviously sold a lot more steak, but they were happy if you really wanted the chicken or the fish item. They don't sell that many of them, but they have a much bigger profit margin. So, and they need that bigger profit margin to help cover the tighter margin of their prime items. So I hope this is making sense. Item cost, very important. Sales mixing, also very important. So then the third and final one you may have already guessed, and that is checking the market. What is marketable for your style of restaurant? If you're a bakery or if you're a breakfast counter, if you're one of those really cool, trendy lunch brunch places that open for breakfast, have a strong lunch, close at 2:30, you go home at 3. Well, what are other restaurants that are in that niche, say charging for certain items? Side dishes for extra hash browns, for example, coffee or juices. A lot of times we find when we do market comparisons that our clients are leaving money on the table. Something as common as, say, the soft drink, that they might say, we charge $2, we give them automatic refills, it's easy. And we know that it's profitable because it only costs us like 30 cents or 40 cents. Okay, that's wonderful. But do you know that if everyone in your market segment or everyone in the neighborhood is charging $2.50, why are you charging $2? I mean, that 50 cents for something as common as sweet tea or as common as a Diet Coke adds up and really helps you become a buffer towards additional costs that go up that maybe you can't really charge for. Like, look at the increasing we're doing right now in curbside pickup, third-party delivery, all of that to-go packaging, all of those extra portion packs and utensil wraps and napkins and logo bags. Those costs are kind of high, but yet we can't just charge people on a per bag basis or charge them more because they asked for extra napkins. But if we know that we're getting a little bit of a buffer because we've got some items on our menu that have a higher margin, not just enough margin to cover the 33% cost, then that's where that kind of comes from. So that's why we say set your prices based on your item cost, of course, and your sales mix, pricing things that drives people to what it is you know you're known for. Going to the barbecue example, if you're selling mostly brisket, and brisket is expensive, well, guess what? If we're pricing our sausage, our sliced smoked turkey, our half chicken, a little higher than just cost, then we're getting a little bit of margin from those items to help us with the margin on the brisket, which is maybe a 45% cost item now. It's far from, 33, which might be an industry target. So pricing is something that is a direct reflection of increasing profitability on your menu. And pricing, quite frankly, is something that a lot of us do wrong. Too many times we go through price increasing and we think, I just hate increasing prices. I have this vision of customers standing up and throwing tomatoes at me because I raised my prices. And then if we realize that, you know what, it's a process that we have to go through. It's part of our ownership's responsibility. So we don't just hodgepodge it. We have a strategy of 2 or 3 times a year, and we really do bring in the vendors and we update our costs. We update the cost of all of the items that we're selling. And we take a look at our sales mix and we make sure that we've got margins that are really good in those lower items to help me cover the tighter margins in the popular items. And then thirdly, we really do look at the market. And I'll be surprised if you don't learn a lesson or two on some things, ancillary items, maybe your primary items, that you could be a tiny bit more expensive on because people are used to spending it. So I think that it touches all bases. I see people doing this if they're in the mobile catering business, if it's a food trailer, taking a look at the farmer's market and seeing, even though the menu might not be the same, but if the customer is the same, and if someone is over there getting sandwiches that means they might be ordering a sandwich instead of coming here getting the burger or the sliders. So am I in the same price range as that? So market comparisons are done at all levels. The kolache guys, the coffee houses, the breakfast, lunch places, the full service restaurants, or even the mobile, food trailers, farmers markets, and pop-ups. This three-step process is something that can work in every market segment. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about the menu, the story, your layout, your design. We've walked through how to price. Let's talk about how vendors can impact your menu management. If you start looking them as partners to help you do better and become more profitable, instead of looking at them as sort of that necessary evil that's constantly raising prices, and so I shop them at all times, we might win. We really will. We might become more profitable if we get all of those purveyors together and say, I've heard of this thing called a prime vendor arrangement. It's where we both win. It's where the vendor, whether they're Gordon Foods, Benny Keith, most all these grocery vendors, large and small, really offer a wide variety of product lines for you. So that means they can sell you the items that you need canned or frozen, fresh like produce, dairy. They can sell you bakery items as well as meat items. They would love all of that business. But you're thinking, yeah, I don't know. If I can get their burger price and then talk to a smaller meat guy over here and get his 80-20 burger price, and then somebody else, and I'll rotate between them all, I might be saving money. And you might a little bit or in the short term. But where we've had much better luck is if we pick one vendor that we feel like is going to commit to us a better margin over their cost for an extended period of time, and they get most of our products. That means I've got less companies to watch, less companies to collect prices from, less companies to order from. They're happy because they're loading more on their truck. Instead of just going to a small restaurant and order and delivering, say, only the frozen items and the canned items, they're delivering your frozen and your canned items, but they're also delivering your cleaning items, your paper goods, your meat, and your produce. And this, so to them, it's all about use of time and how much is on the truck. Sending out a small amount on a truck still runs their labor, their costs, and their pricing structure as much as if that truck is totally full. So they want full trucks. So they're going to love you if they know that, okay, I'm going to commit to you. If you can keep your prices like this, and you can give me the service that I want like this, and the delivery days like this, then I'm going to commit to you all of this product for 6 months to a year. Working with them as a partner, in my experience, has found that over the long period of time, we actually ran better cost numbers than that peak and valley shopping all the time. So I had to learn this the hard way. When I owned my restaurants, I remember doing that. I had a bet with my brother, and it's not good to lose bets, but you never want to lose a bet to a brother. But he took one unit and did prime vendoring. I took the other unit and I was doing the chart purchasing. So if you were the better avocado price, that's what you got. But your tomatoes were high, so it went over to this guy. So I had a separate meat guy, 2 produce guys, 2 grocery guys. Over 3 months, I spent so much more time and energy. And quite frankly, because I wasn't that important to any particular vendor, because they knew they could have a lot of business one week and not a lot the other week, I probably wasn't getting the best time of delivery. They were just fitting me in around their other prime deliveries. I might have been the guy that got some of the green tomatoes once in a while, because everybody gets them. So I wasn't as important to them, because obviously they weren't as important to me. I was shopping them all the time. After 3 months, we compared numbers, and our costs were the same in most every item, and he was a little lower in some categories like produce and bakery. So that how in the world did I do all this extra time, extra effort, thinking I was doing this because I was shopping price and I was going to be cheaper, and yet, he beat me. So it all starts with vendors. You might think that only works if you're a big chain. And I don't have multiple units. I'm not doing 10 to 20 million a year in sales yet. So it doesn't work for me. No, start when you're even smaller. You might find that, if you're in that single restaurant, $1 million a year revenue, they might still want to be talking to you about the volume of product you order when you put all the product together. The volume of product you order, if you're looking at just your meat, or just your frozen isn't as high. But you start adding up the volume that you order of everything, and you're significant. So vendors really can be menu management partners. They can help that way if you want to do that. They can even help work with you on recipe development and help you with, say, consistency of production. Because the more they know about your business and what you're producing, the more they might be suggesting product. You might find that you're in the big batch of chili business and you're spending a lot of labor dicing up the onions. And then you're always upset because the guy doing prep maybe doesn't get the items in the consistent size that you like them. And the appearance of that chili when you put the 2 ounces on the dog isn't consistent and it bothers you. You might find that, you know what, I could buy these chopped to the size that I spec, save some prep time. And now it's coming as part of my delivery and it's always the same. So I get these bags of fresh chopped onions. It saves me maybe an hour off of labor, and I am getting a good, consistent product.